Episode 25, First Contact. The Imperial Scholars Mixer is Eden Academy's semi-annual get-together exclusive to Imperial Scholars, their parents, and select alumni. In short, it is a meeting between Ostania's top brass. Because the event is currently taking place, school security has tightened, with agents and the military on guard. Inside the campus, Twilight overlooks the security disguised as a professor. He remarks how difficult it is to infiltrate the Imperial Scholars Mixer, citing past failed attempts by other agents. The event is at the Tower of Wisdom, which not only has a few possible entrances but even tighter security. Twilight considers the option of taking the tower by force, but that could only work once and be effective if he was to assassinate his target, Donovan Desmond. But because Operation Strix requires established continuous contact with Donovan, it is out of the question. Since approaching Donovan in disguise would also prove to be difficult, Twilight decides to make contact as Lloyd Forger instead. He concludes that although opportunities to make contact with Desmond outside the tower are virtually non-existent, he should try to explore the possibilities. Elsewhere, Cecile Hall finishes class for the day, and the teacher reminds them to leave the school grounds as the school will be closed in the afternoon for the Imperial Scholars Mixer. The students chat about the mixer and who will be attending. One of the girls asks Damien if his dad will be there, as his brother Demetrius is an Imperial Scholar. Damien does not hear them, instead thinking back to a phone call with Demetrius. Damien asked his brother to deliver a message to Donovan, to meet with him in the courtyard at Library 2 after the mixer. Demetrius agreed, but told Damien not to get his hopes up, as their father is a busy man. In the present, the girls ask to meet with Donovan, and Damien angrily tells them to leave him alone and stomps away with his friends in tow. Having read his thoughts, Anya realizes Damien's plan. Seeing that her plan to win his heart with fashion failed, she decides to tail Damien and face Donovan herself. The boys notice Anya sneaking around and confront her, and Ewan believes he knows why Anya has been chasing Damien. He concludes that Anya might be chasing him to curry favor with Donovan, and Emil agrees, saying Anya is the same as all the other kids. Embarrassed and enraged, Damien calls Anya a stalker and other rude names before running away. Anya contemplates punching him again, but Becky, who has been with her, reminds her that she will get expelled if she does. Suddenly, Anya hears Lloyd's thoughts, expressing his frustration at how Anya and Damien are not getting along, and that Plan B is failing. Watching the kids from afar, Lloyd decides to follow Damien if he decides to meet with Donovan. Hearing her father's plan, Anya follows after him. Lloyd shadows the boys to the courtyard and learns that Damien is planning to meet with Donovan. The boys go to check out the mixer for themselves and are amazed at how many people there are, seeing the dignified Imperial Scholars with their families. Emil comments that even among all the famous people present, Donovan is a VIP, which makes Damien freeze up. He decides not to see his father, shocking the boys and Lloyd. Damien reasons that Donovan is an incredible and busy man that does not have time to waste on people like him. As he turns to inform Demetrius of his decision, he is stopped in his tracks by Anya, who cannot let him do that. Lloyd and Damien are surprised by her sudden appearance, and Damien once again tells her to leave, calling her a stalker. Anya ignores him and smugly taunts Damien for being scared. Damien wonders how she knew this and if she is reading his mind, making Anya nervous as she reveals that Damien got 50 points on his language test. She claims to have found out after peeking over Damien's shoulder, making Becky think Anya really is a stalker. Anya says Damien is scared his father will find out about his poor grade and tries empathizing with him, admitting to getting 17 points herself. Anya admits that she is also scared of her father and does not know what he thinks of her. Despite that, Anya believes in her father because she loves him and declares that she will use all her courage to tell him that she failed. Although everyone who heard Anya's declaration is confused, it is enough to convince Damien to meet with Donovan after all. While not sure what just happened, Lloyd quietly commends Anya for the effort. In the courtyard, the kids quietly sit and wait for the mixer to end. Becky is surprised that Anya is doing the same, as she just wants to go home. She assumes Anya is eager to meet Damien's parents because she wants their blessing to marry, misreading her seriousness. Becky decides to wait with Anya, hoping to see the big moment with her own eyes. Anya falls asleep shortly after, and Becky realizes her mistake. She asks a nearby Martha Marriott to take Anya back to their car as they prepare to leave. On their way out, they pass by Lloyd, who reveals a handmade duplicate of Anya's expensive sheep keychain made with cheaper materials. With that, Twilight puts his plan into motion. Lloyd continues to observe the mixer from the outside until it finishes. He watches until Donovan leaves and decides to make his move. At the courtyard where Damien's group is waiting, Lloyd appears and asks the boys if they have seen a sheep keychain. Damien recognizes the description and gives Lloyd the replica that was planted on the ground earlier for them to find. The boys connect the dots and realize they are talking to Anya's father. Lloyd, who pretends to be seeing Damien for the first time, kneels before the boy and apologizes for Anya's behavior at the orientation. As he tells Damien that he would also like to apologize to his parents, Donovan arrives. In his thoughts, Twilight apologizes to Damien for needing to crash his family reunion. Damien is surprised his father showed up, while Lloyd comes face-to-face with Donovan. He tries to talk to Donovan, but his bodyguards tell him to leave. However, Donovan gives him the chance to speak, prompting Lloyd to apologize for Anya's behavior towards Damien and introduce himself with a smile. At a Wise safe house, a rookie member reviews a file containing attendees to the Imperial Scholars Mixer, including Donovan Desmond. Seeing how the mixer is a treasure trove of intelligence, he suggests sending more agents to back up Twilight. Sylvia Sherwood advises otherwise and explains that it would be giving their enemy easy prey. She reminds the young man they are in enemy territory and that Eden Academy is the front line of this Cold War. As Lloyd Forger introduces himself to Donovan, Twilight thinks about his investigations of any media regarding the man. In it, he could not learn much about Donovan since his disappearance from the public eye. With this conversation, he must learn more about Donovan, his behavior, how to get him interested in Lloyd Forger, and extract the plans for the war he is plotting. Donovan recalls the incident at the orientation and apologizes for being too busy to respond personally. Lloyd offers to bring a token of regret to his manner. However, Donovan brushes it off with an uncharacteristically bright smile, startling Lloyd. Donovan states it is just a spat among kids, but Damien yells that Anya laid hands on him, a Desmond. Lloyd agrees and insists on making amends after what she did. Donovan smiles again and says it is fine, although he appreciates the sentiment. Lloyd realizes he is being blown off and withdraws, but not before thanking Donovan for his generosity. Seeing that his father does not care, Damien tries expressing his humiliation to him, hoping for affection. However, Donovan responds with an exasperated sigh, unnerving Damien while Lloyd watches quietly. Damien stops and apologizes, and his father smiles in response. Lloyd speaks up, saying Damien's anger is justified. He proceeds to talk about Anya and her bizarre behavior. Donovan smiles again and says it is fine, although he appreciates the sentiment. Lloyd realizes he is being blown off and withdraws, but not before thanking Donovan for his generosity. Hearing this, Damien, Ewan, and Emil unanimously think how Lloyd has it rough. He then talks about the challenges of raising children and how uncontrollable they can be. Donovan concurs, saying that despite sharing your blood, your children are essentially strangers, and it is impossible to understand what someone else is truly thinking. He finishes by saying that people will never be able to understand each other. While he says this, Damien is left stunned. Lloyd wonders if that is why Donovan seeks to control other nations with threats of military force and if he has uncovered a core belief. Lloyd proceeds to agree with the statement, saying that as a psychiatrist, he sometimes wonders if he can truly understand what goes on in his patients' heads. He adds that it may be arrogant to think that people can understand each other. In his thoughts, Lloyd knows that the idea of people reaching a mutual understanding by talking to each other is idealistic at best. Nevertheless, he tells Donovan that what is important is meeting them in the middle. Lloyd admits that despite not understanding Anya's actions, he acknowledges her and creates opportunities for dialogue, even if it works out or not. Lloyd then thinks about how he, as a spy, will never stop seeking information to understand others. Lloyd steps forward to pat a dejected Damien's shoulder and says that it may have been why Donovan took the time out of his schedule to meet with his son. Donovan supposes so, which surprises Damien. Lloyd then talks about Damien's respect for his father, bringing up his school report on Donovan's work, which he had secretly snuck a peek at in the school. Lloyd claims that it moved Anya so much that it was all she could talk about at home. He tells Donovan that he was touched by Damien's respect and knowledge for his work as party chairman, praising the boy. Lloyd then mentions his initial concerns about the National Unity Party's platform and how his views changed after hearing about the passion with which Donovan looks out for Ostania's interests in Damien's report. He wonders if he should attend one of the party's seminars, again praising Damien. An embarrassed Damien tells Lloyd to stop, and Lloyd happily apologizes. Donovan decides to wrap up the conversation, but not before remembering Lloyd's name and saying that he enjoyed their conversation. Lloyd is satisfied with the result, chalking up Donovan remembering his name as a victory, and was able to memorize the faces and features of his security team. Lloyd thanks Donovan for sharing his time with him. Before he leaves, Lloyd asks Damien not to tell Anya about their conversation. He says Anya is at an awkward stage, and if Damien thinks she hates him, Lloyd suspects otherwise, so he hopes they can get along. Damien shyly says he wants to as well, surprising his friends. He quickly gets embarrassed and yells at Lloyd to go away. Lloyd laughs it off and bids goodbye, leaving the Desmonds to talk. However, as Lloyd leaves, he and Donovan quietly glare at each other with some suspicion. Donovan looks to Damien, asking what his son wants from him. Damien starts getting nervous and says it was nothing. He struggles to get the words out, thinking back to Lloyd emphasizing the importance of creating a dialogue with others. As Donovan prepares to leave, Damien remembers Anya saying she will summon all her courage to tell Lloyd that she failed. Damien shouts out to his father, informing him of his Stella star from the midterms, his 50 on his reading test, and how the griffin he made in art class won first prize. Hearing this, Donovan congratulates him. Damien asks why Donovan decided to come see him, and Donovan says he acted on a whim and to think nothing of it. As he walks away, he tells Damien to continue striving not to besmirch their family name. Damien enthusiastically agrees while Ewan and Emil cheer him on. Watching from inside the school, Twilight senses how distant Donovan is from his son. He concludes that the closer Donovan and Damien are, the better the odds of success are for Plan B. As for Donovan, Twilight decides not to tail him, and his next step is to lay the careful groundwork and take his new intel to HQ for analysis. Before he leaves, Twilight sees Damien and his friends excitedly cheering for Stella. Lloyd watches them quietly before making his way out. Lloyd returns home to Yor and Anya and sees his daughter fast asleep with Bond. Yor explains that Anya was already asleep since she was dropped off by Becky and Martha. In her sleep, Anya mutters that she and Lloyd will fight the superboss together. Lloyd thinks about how carefree she is and has no idea what she is babbling about.